Go. I'm going to call to order the January 17th, 2023 meeting of Ag and Rural Affairs. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the December 20th meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions?
I recommend approval of the minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Public appearances for non-agenda items. There's no one in the chamber, so we'll take it that there's no one to appear for a non-agenda item. The agenda review, any changes needed to the agenda? Deanna? No. All right.
There are no changes needed.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to item 5A, which is certified survey map request CS 2453-22. This is a request by Mark Jones. Am I in the? No, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm in the minutes instead of the.
That's last month.
Let's try that again. We already took care of that.
Who's sitting in that chair?
5A. Watch it, Rod. You know what's going to happen.
That's perfect opportunity.
5A rezone request RZ 2493-23 by Therese Hansen and Robert Talarczyk, agent for Lois Gust, to rezone property from AX to RR to subdivide an existing home from an agricultural tract onto its own parcel associated with 5942 County Highway M. The applicants are not present. I don't believe they're online. They may show up at some point, so let's start out with a staff report.
We can certainly do a staff report. So this is an existing farm down on M, and it's about 150 acres. And what the applicant requests is to divide out the farm buildings, the farmhouse, into a separate lot. The remaining property would be on another separate lot. So the proposal is to rezone and subdivide an existing single-family residential structure into its own parcel. And then the new parcel would be rezoned from AX, or exclusive agriculture, to RR, which is rural residential density, rural residential. The proposal also includes consolidating 4 existing agricultural tracts into one. The farm is proposed to remain AX. So might be helpful if I just go grab my screen. Hopefully you all can see what what the new proposed parcels would be. So lot 1 and then lot 2. And lot 2 would remain AX. The properties all lie outside the urban service area. The existing home and accessory structures on the proposed lot 1 would remain. The general rural development guidance states an intention to have lots of approximately 1.5 acres or less. As you can see, the proposal is to have a lot for lot 1, which would be approximately 8 acres, and then zoned rural residential. Public Works had a comment regarding the restriction of driveway access to the farm parcel, stating that one access point should be allowed on the residential lot, and then one point of access for the agricultural tract opposite Blizzard Road, which that's what this would be right here, and then opposite an existing driveway at 5897 County Highway. The proposal would also, that of course it needs to come to Agricultural and Rural Affairs, the Gust Base Farm, so this would be the Gust Base Farm number 99, has a total of 3 claims for rural residential development. An affidavit of record will need to be filed assigning those claims between lots 1 and 2. And 2 of the lots may be developed as farm single-family residential and at least one would have to be designated to a rural residential cluster development. Staff does recommend approval of the certified survey map with 8 conditions, and then we also recommend approval of the rezone request with 3 conditions. And that's my staff report.
So I think the issues on this one are the size of the lot, which is being driven by the existing buildings, and the dimensions of the lot. What is our maximum depth to width that we allow under, the ratio? Is it
2 to 1.
Is it 2 to 1?
Bit strange because it's not technically rural residential development. It's not a new development. They're creating a lot around these existing, but I'm certainly happy to check into that further.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it was 2 to 1 was the max, but that isn't necessarily applicable here is what you're saying, because this is an existing residence. And what is the reason for the depth of the lot well beyond where the buildings are?
I am not exactly sure, but I think it has to do, let me go grab something else. I think it has to do with the topography that is out there. So I think what they're trying to do, let me go grab this for you guys. Okay, so this is the acreage. If you can kind of see my cursor coming around this acreage. And I think what they're trying to do is just come up and grab this area that's not being farmed anyways, is kind of what they're trying to do. Do you see how?
The woodlot?
Yeah, that woodlot. There's a woodlot behind the buildings up here, so they're going back a little deeper to capture that.
Yeah, I drove out by there, and it does look like that's even an old fence line that grew up, and I believe it's even low in there. It's kind of dividing those 2 fields right there.
Yeah, it's rough land
Yeah.
behind those buildings. And if I did the calculations right on the 2 to 1, we might be about 200 or between 200 and 300 feet short. I mean, in other words, longer than a 2 to 1 ratio. But that extra 200 or 300 feet is rough wooded, unfarmable land. So there's no need to, I would hope that we can find a way to get around the 2 to 1 to include it, because to break it off to stay in a 2 and 1, it's just going to hang out there with no purpose at all.
Yeah, being it's an existing property that's been there for so long too, to put it off-center in those large fields would be, I mean, it's an existing homestead. You can't really move that.
It's 1,000 feet long, and the frontage is 350. So that's 700 feet out of 1,000 at a 2 to 1.
In this case, because it's not a new residence that's being created here, I think what staff is saying is that
Yeah.
we're not bound by the 2 to 1 that's within the RRDC anyhow.
Yeah.
If this were a new residence being
Yes.
created, then we would need to address that.
And could you explain why then it will be under the listing of rural cluster?
Oh, it will not. What we're proposing is that it would be rural residential. And rural residential just is suitable for this kind of larger lot and for this, this type of residential, so.
Oh, what you're saying is if they use the other claims.
Yes,
those-
yes, okay, so, yes, so, this is Base Farm 99, and Base Farm 99 has 3, claims right now that have not been used. Outside of a future urban development area, it is, only possible to use 2 claims. So beyond those 2 claims, whether you have 3 or whether you have 5, beyond those 2 claims, it needs to be directed towards rural residential, rural cluster development, which I'm not aware that has been done in Fitchburg, but we have the code that would allow to do that rural cluster development.
Yeah, we created the ability to do that, but it's not been done yet.
The entrance that you're talking about to the AX area, that new driveway or entry is right at across from Blizzard, or a little bit to the east?
All that Public Works was saying that if this parcel, if Lot 2 was sold, and they weren't taking direct access through the existing farm property, through existing Lot 1, they would be limited to where driveways could enter in from M. So he was, Public Works was just making that, so everyone knows they can't put a driveway wherever they want to put a driveway.
So right now, we're just anticipating something way down future.
If there was ever a
Yeah,
need,
yeah.
yes, if there was ever a need. And it's just practical that any farm driveways would align with existing driveways or existing roadways.
And if they were to put a driveway in there, that has to get county approval also,
I would
on a
imagine.
county road.
County road.
Any further questions or?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Can we separate them out, please?
This is for the,
The first one.
yeah, I'll start out with a certified survey map.
Okay.
Oops, sorry.
So your motion is to approve the certified survey with the 8 conditions as noted?
Correct.
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We're on to the rezone.
I'll make a motion to approve the rezone request RZ-2493-23
With the 3 conditions.
with the 3 conditions stated.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I have a point of order, I think, and it's really for Deanna. And this came up in council. Is there a reason that we discussed the certified survey map first and then the rezone, even though they're in a different order on the agenda? Do you know what I'm referencing?
Yeah, I do know,
One particular
and-
alder has,
Yes.
okay.
I can follow up with that, and that was my mistake. We need to, and I think we've done that better on the planning commission, but I should have put the certified survey before the rezone.
Okay.
Thank you for pointing that out.
All right.
Yes,
Okay. I mean, it raises a good point, I mean, as far as logic, and
Yes.
some folks that are maybe are members of the council that are a little less knowledgeable, so it does help process.
Yeah, we take the certified survey first because there's no point in rezoning
Right.
a lot that
Well, and I think that
we're
that
recommending does not exist.
It is
was
in the
point that was
correct,
made in council, so
Yeah.
a couple different times, so. But Deanna has it on her list, so. Thank you.
It's on my list, and I
And it's in the correct order in the memorandum, like in the packet, it's in the correct order. It's just the agenda, I think it wasn't listed in the right order. So you're doing okay, Deanna.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you.
All right, so we are on to item 5C, which is planning for the Ag and Rural Affairs listening session, which we're looking to schedule for our regular February meeting. I'm going to let Raj take this from here. He's been working on this. Thank you, Raj. Appreciate that.
I made a call into Four Winds, and they have, we've locked in on February 21. That's a Tuesday in February at 4 o'clock. And this meeting, I would propose that we do it the way we have in the past. We've had an actual Ag and Rural Affairs meeting where we have a very short agenda. We discuss and then close the meeting, and then the meeting is then outside of the Ag and Rural Affairs agenda, and we then go into what we call the Rural Fitchburg Listening Session. And in the past, this has been well attended, and we have had Chief Morales there, and he has agreed also to attend on this date, and he's locked in on his calendar with it. But there's one other thing that's going on in the police department. There's a group of people that are forming a sort of a situation where they want to have like a, I'm lost for words on it. It's a foundation, thank you. A foundation in which this foundation helps or works with the police department on current and future activities. And that is mainly involved in fundraising. And this proposed foundation has already gotten several people that have agreed to head it up. And Chief Morales has asked if they could make a brief introduction into this idea and have this foundation, a person there, talk about it. Kind of give us the idea of what the reasons is for it and what the huge benefits that it can be to the police department. So before we go to that part of the agenda, I need to know whether this group is all right with that. Quite frankly, I think it's a good thing, and it coincides with what we have been talking with the police department as far as rural safety and everything in the past. So I need to know what we think about this.
I would support that, Raj, but are you going to have that, will that be part of the Ag and Rural or the meeting after?
No, we will, for this part of the meeting, we will adjourn.
No, I'm just saying, which part will they be addressing?
They will be in the listening session.
Okay, very good. That was my only question.
They will be in the listening session. I visualize that as being part of it.
So this will be an agenda item, yes.
No,
For Ag and Rural.
no. If we would like to do that, that's fine.
So the listening session is part of the agenda.
No, we've got to separate it legally. Because the mayors will be there.
That's, okay. I think we're talking about two different things.
Yeah.
The listening session is for people in the rural community to talk about issues that they may have in the city of Fitchburg. If there is a candidates forum, that's a different item. That cannot occur within this meeting. But the listening session has always been part of this meeting.
Right, in case there's any items that come up
I see what you-
pertaining to rural, ag and rural.
Yes, yes, and then those.
So
are
I
part
believe
of
you're
the-
correct, Ed.
Yeah.
You're right.
So what we could do, which would you start with? Probably the,
We would start with Chief Morales first.
okay. Do we know, Deanna, have we identified any other agenda items likely for that meeting?
Point, but we do not have our February items have not been submitted.
Right.
February Plan Commission items have not yet been submitted, so.
Okay.
And if we have none, then it can be a really short meeting.
It certainly could. It looks like you all did this last March.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep.
I was
And-
here, but I wasn't taking part.
Yeah,
And it, here I can, this looks like what you're,
But we did not do the candidates part of it last year because there wasn't any
No.
need for it.
No.
But 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we did.
It was a meeting last year with no agenda.
so
Yeah.
this looks like what, oh, it's kind of small
It might
there,
have
but
been 3 years.
in March, you did
COVID.
the introductions and city report, open discussion and resident feedback, all within that meeting, is what you did.
Did we have any sort of an update from economic development or from the mayor?
Last year?
Last year.
Yes.
Yeah, it seems like there
Oh.
was, and it seems like the city administrator
was there.
Yeah,
gave
Yes.
a little
Yeah,
talk.
we had that's when Chad Breckman was.
The tax
new
assessor was there.
Administrator, and he
Oh,
gave
that's
an
right.
overview
Yeah.
of
So who do we want to invite to do that this year, or
Well,
is it?
I would
say the
recommend,
same.
I would recommend that we have Chad for sure.
What about
And Ken,
New
Chief
assessor?
Morales.
the new assessor?
Oh,
Oh, do we, is it,
we have one?
do we have one on board?
Will he be started by then?
He has already.
Okay,
He has already started.
okay, then that
last
would be,
week,
that would be a
actually.
good suggestion for an introduction,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
if it's possible.
Yeah. And the mayor? If he has anything to say.
Yes. And of course, the alders will be there.
They will?
Randy?
At least one.
We can count on one. We've always been able to count on one.
Yeah, I would
I
assume.
can't speak for the others.
Yeah, Jim may, well, I think it would be
Jim,
probably just Jim.
He'll be there.
sure he will.
He'll be there.
Yep, because he's a candidate.
Fantastic. Yes.
So Deanna, if you can determine of that list who's actually available and then just
Okay.
put them on the agenda and they can each have a few minutes to say what they might want to say.
Okay.
Do we have anything coming up, either in the planning department or that you're aware of in economic development that might be relevant to bring to the public at this meeting? I mean, if there is, I mean, we certainly could add Mike Z to that list, or if there are some things that you'd like to talk about, you could add yourself to the list.
What I will do is just touch base with economic development and see if they feel like there's some valuable information to bring to rural.
Okay,
Okay, and if
Thank
not,
you.
if not, that's okay. But we would certainly welcome
Okay.
economic development if they want to be there.
If we could find, I just happened to think, we approved that solar farm, or that solar
You did.
acreage. Is there some way we can just touch on that to let everybody know that that's been approved?
I'm more than happy to.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be a subject, because that's a major rural issue right now.
that's the one off Irish. Yeah.
Yeah, right,
That's what,
right.
yeah, that was the only one that was approved
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
last year.
There's a couple other ones are
In the
in
middle.
discussion.
yeah.
Now, also, there's, as far as getting the word out on this, we're running a little early, a month early than what we did last year. So we have to get it out, what,
Soon.
just the Fitchburg Star, or how else are we gonna promote this to get a good attendance in the rural area?
Brad, were you able to get this into the Star?
I talked to Jeremy about some of our options. I don't have it in the Star yet. Wanted to wait till this meeting, but that's something I can look into getting it into there after this meeting. And then there's a few other options to kind of get the word out. I talked to Jeremy, and he said we could do like like you and I could possibly do an interview that would go on to the public access channel to talk about the meeting, and then of course we could post it on our social media and our city website as well.
Yeah, I think also in the rural area, just the word of mouth
Yeah, the
is good too.
rural area has limited access to the,
Star.
well, no, not the Star, but to the internet. I mean, as far as the public,
Some of us have limited access to the Star as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but the internet is pretty much unavailable in some areas in Fitchburg.
Snail mail. The USPS, we're gonna have to print something and stick it in the mail.
I don't think we have a budget for that.
Well, Ed, talk me into it. That's my arm.
Oh, okay. You're going to make a donation then to the,
I mean, I don't want to be held accountable if I miss somebody.
there would be, it would take a long time to deliver all of those notices by mail. And then you'd really need to make sure that you got them to everybody.
Exactly, that's what I'd be worried about.
Right.
How is this police foundation? How are they getting the word out? As far as they're doing a fundraiser. You were saying, Roger. That's could kind of. We could almost hook up with them too, and if they're going to be there and talk about this, they could.
I don't know whether it's that far along. This is probably
Okay.
one of the big introductions publicly.
It's really just the introduction of the foundation and what are your thoughts on the
Yeah.
foundation? I think Chief Morales will present more at
Yeah.
that time, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So it's really in its infancy at this point, if we want to move that in that direction.
Yeah, are they looking at the new location for or the new building they want?
Well, I don't know if it's, I don't know all of the.
Is that what the
particulars about it.
fundraising is connected?
I don't know. Roger, did you mention fundraising? Is that what you mentioned?
Pardon?
Did you mention fundraising or something to the foundation? I don't know if you defined it.
They will
yeah.
be there, yeah, but
Yeah.
that'll be part of their operation.
It
yes.
could be, it could be.
Yeah, but this is simply an introduction to this concept and the reasons for it, and I think it's a good subject for the public to know about.
Right.
Because they have got if you say a mission statement, that's pretty good. So I would say it's going to be good and everything. One other thing that affects the rural areas some, Brad, you mentioned something about the Lake Barney issue. I know there's some people out there keep asking about that. We know that it's kind of slowed up with a lot of committee work and everything. Would there be a chance that you could give a short, brief overview of that?
Yeah, I could either ask somebody from our engineering or Village of Oregon's engineering to be present to do an update, or I could kind of get an update from them and provide that. I won't be as knowledgeable about the progress, but wouldn't be as knowledgeable about any questions that might be asked about it. But we could do one of those. I can check with them to see if they're available, and if not,
Yeah.
I can provide an update. Updates.
Excuse me, Brad, do you know, has this been assigned to a particular engineer at this point? Do you know, or maybe you need to find that out, or?
I'm not sure.
Ryan,
The last person on the Fitchburg side that I talked to about it talked about it with think it was Ben, but I'll have to double check, if there's been an engineer assigned to it.
Okay, just curious.
Do you mean Lake Barney? Yeah. Because that isn't what you said. You said Lake Farm.
Yeah, Lake Barney, yep. Okay. All right. So, we're gonna have, potentially, have Chief Morales, who can say whatever he wants to say about what's going on in policing in the rural areas, and can also talk about the foundation. And the city administrator, city assessor, mayor, 2 alders, and then planning staff, with the topics being the solar farm in Lake Barney. Yep. Anything else? And then just kind of a general open house type discussion thing for anyone who wants to talk about any particular topics.
If it's anything like the last meeting we had, there were a lot of discussion for Chief Morales on traffic issues and whatnot. And we know that he's, really stepped it up since last year, so I'm sure he'll be able to report on some of the advances he's done along those lines.
You were saying the city administrator would probably be there too.
Chad?
Yes.
I
Yes.
was just thinking on any updates on any infrastructure projects or any road work projects?
Oh,
If
yeah.
Any engineering
Yeah,
on
yep.
that?
Great. Anything else?
As chair, will you extend that invitation to all of those individuals? Is that what you will do, or staff, or just so that,
I think, Danny, you wanted,
I can follow up.
Yeah.
with the mayor and city administrator? Okay.
And the new assessor?
I shall do so, George.
so if there aren't any other specific topics, then that probably is, yeah.
We've got an agenda.
Thank you.
And if something comes up or somebody thinks of something, they could maybe get it to Deanna.
Yeah, I still think the big thing would be to try to get the word out somehow for attendance, I just, that's not too far away, really.
Now we adjourn.
Well, and I sort of wonder, I thought about that in the past too, and I think that's a good point. I don't know whether we can get any sort of a budget for this committee. And I think the publicizing the outreach and any costs involved in this annual event is probably all that we would need a budget for.
Yeah, right.
Are you asking an alder to present that at budget time?
So move.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's the only way you're going to, establish a budget
right, and
going forward.
Well,
and
at
if you're,
least to look at the cost.
if you're going to do, right, maybe determine what that cost is going to be, we don't know yet, but the mailing should go to anyone, I think, in District 4 would be the simplest way of
Yep.
doing that.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I know, but well, I don't, it really, it's ag and rural, and there are parts of District 4 that are neither ag nor rural, but I don't know how else you could parse out.
Well, I think we encountered that with the broadband. So, I mean, it's doable. It's just, I think it's very labor intensive. But maybe not so much anymore with the GIS person.
We send mailers, could we revisit that broadband map of the dead zones, maybe, Randy? And then.
Yeah,
send
I don't know who was on that mailer. I mean, we could maybe circle back and have a conversation with
But that's just gonna get the dead zones, that's not gonna get
CETA.
the
Yeah.
whole rural area. I just don't know how else you get the whole rural area without mailing it to everyone in the developed subdivisions that are in the urban service area in District 4.
Right.
Which is not necessarily our target group. I mean,
Correct, yeah. I mean, that's fine if they get a mailing, but it's going to add a lot to the cost.
I didn't consider that.
Well, we'll just have to try to reach out to as many people as we can as individuals.
Yeah.
That's what we've
I
done
think
that
all
in
of
the
Terra
past.
Vesta is still District 4, correct? Randy?
3 now.
That got moved?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It travels up Haight Road and a little bit, and then Goodland Road and straight east. We just got Roger in under the wire. No, not joking, but I think it's somewhere in there.
I've got it, I was going to wait to talk about this later, but as long as we're talking about how we're going to get it out. In the past, what has been somewhat successful is we've had a telephone campaign. And a couple of us called key people, landowners that we know in the community, and they then, the word got spread. And I've put together a list of what I think are some of those people with phone numbers. And before we leave here, maybe we can discuss it and kind of divvy this list up, and we make a few individual calls. It's going to be a call, one call, maybe 2 calls. But
No robo?
no, but it's, yeah, but that's been successful in the past. And I would suggest that we look at that idea.
What did you do? What did we do last year? I mean, it was
We-
pretty good success
That's
rate
what we
last
did.
year.
I mean, there
We
was-
did a lot of this. I know George and I did a lot of this last year.
Oh, you did? Okay. All right.
And it really worked out pretty good. And then, of course, you know, we see these people, and anybody that you see,
Pass the
any
word
one
when
of
you
us
see
committee people that sees somebody, even though they might have got a call, we say, hey, don't forget about the meeting. That's worked out pretty good.
Exactly.
And
Okay.
I got a few people on this list that I need to talk to anyhow, so I'll just volunteer myself. I'll call Tony, Fred, and John Freiberger.
okay, well, I'll get this list out to everybody before we leave.
Yeah, okay,
Very good.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on this topic for now?
No.
Okay, hearing nothing, is there any report from the department?
There is no department report this evening.
All right, are there any announcements?
I guess there could be an announcement. I just wanted to mention to everyone that, our department's taking part in a regional housing strategy that is countywide. And there was just a survey released for that, I think last week, that is intended to go out to, anybody living in the county that would want to complete a survey on housing, talk about challenges and issues, things like that. So I was thinking that I could share that with committee members if anybody would be interested in sharing that survey with their networks and just kind of get the word out about it, get people to take the survey. Just wanted to mention that and can share it by email to all the committee members after the meeting sometime. So.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. Why don't you go ahead and send that around to the committee, and those that are interested can fill out the survey and pass it on to other people?
Sounds good. Will do.
Ed, another just going through my mind as to other subjects that that maybe could be discussed at the listening session. The railroad has, in their wisdom, have been running trains in the middle of the night, and Burn Road is very unprotected, especially when you have the last set of cars came through were the oil cars. They went down and got them about 12:30 in the evening. They had a couple cars on, near as I could tell. And then when they came back through with the oil cars, that ran along, that must have been a good 100 car. And so you've got Burn Road with dark oil cars, no protection, nothing there. And that's always been a concern for me. But when they start running them in the middle of the night, which originally they weren't gonna. There was originally, but I think that's been long gone.
If we could get Burn Road signalized, which is not a city function, I don't believe, I think that would probably be a better solution, because
It
as
would
long as
be-
that's signalized, frankly, I'd rather have a long train like that running at night than,
I agree with you 100%, as long as it's signalized, but that the cost of that is quite high. If it were considered in a quiet zone, of which I don't know where that is at, that proposal, then all of the crossings have to be signalized. But for the short term, if Burn Road had stop signs instead of yield signs, people got used to stopping there, it would be a better deal. So that's something I've pushed for, as everybody here I think is aware of, especially with the kids in the Greenfield and the Gold area. That's their main way to school, because that's the Oregon School District. Your kids that way also, when you had kids at home ed. And it's just a better deal if we could get a stop sign there. Would it work every time? Would somebody run that? Yeah, they probably would, but you're gonna get some folks that are gonna stop, so.
If they're running in the middle of the night with dark oil cars, like, in my mind, like, my initial reaction is like, a stop sign is not enough. Like, that's a starting point.
I agree.
But that is not,
I agree, but it's better than a yield sign.
it's better than a yield sign, but holy
So.
cow, like, we need to address that. Like, I was unaware until this moment.
Yeah, so. Anyway, something we should talk about at the listening session.
yeah, well, maybe bring it up there, and maybe in the meantime, Dan or Brad could just look into what Public Works has to say about doing
Mark has
something along
brought
those
that
lines.
up in the listening session so many times. Like, I've heard about this, like, so many times. Like, we've talked about it. Like, something, like, needs to be done. Like, action needs to be taken on this issue in my mind. Like, I've heard about there being a need for this railroad track probably since I was a child. Like, I've seen the crashes, I've witnessed the accidents as a little girl from my grandparents' window. Like, I'm done talking about it. If this is happening in the middle of the night, like, we need to figure out how to take action. So whatever steps we need to take, we need to take.
Well, we can put this on as a future agenda item.
I think we better.
And I don't know whether there are other locations where we have rail crossings that should
Yeah,
be
yeah.
addressed as well. That's probably.
No, that is the only one,
What did you,
that is the only one
That's right.
that is
Not signalized.
not well, there's
Irish Lane isn't,
Iris Lane is not signalized.
So there's-
I take that back.
Yes, it is.
It has lighted signals, but it does not have the crossbars.
oh, okay.
It's lighted, though.
The lighted signals would be.
Yeah,
The lighted signals but
I can't
like
even-
Lacey.
Lacey has signals, and crossbars. So does McCoy.
Yeah,
Clayton Road has been closed off,
You're
so
right.
that no longer is an
So-
issue.
so it's-
McCoy has crossbars.
So it's basically just Burn then, huh?
Burn is the only one, and even my private crossing has stop signs.
Like, why
We
do
we did that because the insurance company mandated it. So even my private crossing has stop signs. It's a liability issue, was mandated by the insurance company. And I've just been able to get no traction at all of at least getting stop signs there.
like, I mean, Mark has been talking about this for years. People have been talking about this for years. Like, I'd rather talk about this and address this than read someone's obituary. Or God forbid, I'm going to work at 4:30 in the morning and someone crashed into this train at midnight. Like, this is like, we're being really silly.
I can't believe they're hauling, you said hauling oil in those black cars? I know, Lycon had a contract to haul product for their concrete, but in those.
What they do, George, is they store the oil cars south of, down by Lyman Anderson's, down in
Oh, yeah,
that
lots
area,
of-
on the dead end track.
Yeah,
And then when they need them, they'll go and get them. And so occasionally there'll be a long train that comes down and they tuck them all the way to the south end.
Is that for asphalt, or what is that for?
No, they haul crude.
Oh,
They haul,
Gasoline?
no, it's to be processed into whatever kinds of
Okay,
fuel. So
refinement.
it's tar sand oil.
I was just wondering where they'd haul that in Madison.
Well, they store the cars down there and then they bring them back and then they send them on the other track. Then they go north
Oh, okay, okay.
and
Yeah,
they go wherever they're gonna go. But that seems to be the spot that when they don't need them, they can tuck them down there.
Oh, yeah,
store
there's
'em.
a lot of them. I've seen that many
I'm
times.
really happy you
down-
said something, Mark. You don't know unless you know.
Yeah, there's always quite a string of them down by, on the way down toward Brooklyn, Evansville.
In the middle of the night, that's very dangerous. No lights, nothing, dark cars, that,
Does anyone know the qualifications for signal? I mean,
that's why I think, you know,
with the railroad, I guess is
if
what I'm saying.
Brad or Deanna could take that up with Public Works between now and then and just kind of add that to their agenda item, so they would be just mentioning something about the solar farm, talking about the update on Lake Barney, and whatever Public Works may have had to say with regard to Burn Road and what it would take to get that signal.
or when it
license
will
on
be
that.
started.
That's a good thing to bring up there, because there's people in the public that may want to.
And Tom Clowder worked for the railroad after he was mayor, and he usually comes to the listening session. So he may be also able to provide some additional information along with our staff about some of the costs and the different things,
Okay.
because he did that for a long time.
I think it would also be great to have a conversation with the railroad as well, why there isn't. I mean, just so we have the clear understanding why they're not signalizing that location where there's other, I'm assuming it's amount of traffic, but have they looked at it in recent years?
When I worked with them, and I've worked with them for clearing the visionaries back further at that crossing, because we as a group of citizens went in and helped the people the farmers that own the land to clear that back ourselves. And I asked the railroad people at that point in time, and they said, we don't care if it's a stop sign or a yield. The yield sign is the least. A stop sign is okay. They don't have the funding to put the lighted stuff there. So but they said it's up to Fitchburg if they want to put the stop sign there, it's perfectly fine with the railroad. So
who normally chooses, you said when it crosses Lacey Road, there's a signal there. Did the city of Fitchburg pay for that signal then, or did?
I cannot tell you that.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I'd like to know what the metrics are behind it. Somebody's paying for it. I mean, is the onus on the city, or is it on the railroad itself? There must be some
I
type of-
can't answer that question.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
only speak to the yield versus, and whether I asked the railroad, do you have a preference? And they said, no, the yield is the least we require. If the city wants to put 2 stop signs there, we're fine with that, because it's safer for them.
Yeah.
Well, isn't Paul Woodward back working part-time for Fitchburg?
He is.
He would probably know.
He may.
We'll touch base with him. Actually, this did come up in the staff meeting today, so it's on
Somebody's radar screen?
Mr. Woodard's radar, yes.
Great.
Did he
Cool.
know this happened in the middle of the night?
No, I can't speak for him, but the discussion came up because, of course, Mark, you were at council
Yes, I was.
last week.
Yep. So,
Okay, any other announcements? If not, motion to adjourn.
So approved?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We're adjourned. Thank you.